Morning, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, November 3rd, 2014 meeting of the Lewis County Board of County Commissioners. We have a full quorum this morning. All three commissioners are present. If you'll all rise for the flag salute led by Commissioner Schulte. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I move that we approve the minutes of October 27th, 2014.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Are there any additions, deletions, corrections? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We have nobody signed up for public comment on the agenda this morning, so we'll move forward.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the notice agenda. 3 items. Resolution number 14-285 through 14287.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. We still have people signing up, so. Come on up, Tim.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Elsey, Public Works Director, speaking to items 1 through 3 on your notice agenda. Item number 1 is accepting a bid for tax title property located off of Slalom Way in Packwood. And if I can make this thing work, it would be better.
If you're having trouble with a piece of electronics, I have hard copy here, Tim.
Thank you so much. Seriously. When I finally get to this is a tax title property off of Slalom Way in Packwood. This is resolution number 14-285. This property was offered for tax sale and was not purchased at tax sale. The High Valley Property Owners Association has offered to purchase the property for more than what is owed, and we recommend selling the property to the High Valley Association. However, prior to doing that, we have to provide notice in the paper so that if the county can receive any better offers, that they can be presented at that time. So our recommendation is that we notice the sale of this property and look for offers that are more advantageous to the county.
So this is an advertisement for a notice that anybody who is interested in this property other than Lewis County may come forth with a bid on the property.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Item number 2 on your notice agenda is approve the use of distressed county funds or .09 funds to finalize the regional efforts for the North County Industrial Access Project. This is resolution number 14-286. Pursuant to RCW 3681-121, all counties are required to prepare, adopt, and submit a 6-year transportation improvement program for proposed road and bridge construction prior to adoption of the county's budget each year. As a part of this process, any funds that are to be expended for distressed county funds have to be on the county 6-year TIP. The North County Industrial Access has been placed on the county 6-year TIP, and this is a notice stating how those funds are to be spent. And these funds are to be spent for providing an engineering study for the North County Industrial Access, and this is for a ingress-egress arterial 2-lane, 2-way truck route from Interstate 5 to North Lewis County industrial properties at the Port of Centralia and the industrial park at TransAlta. These efforts have been ongoing since 1995. Several studies have been performed at this point, and this is the final study, hopefully, to figure out the best way to reduce congestion in North County, and also to provide for industrial access from Interstate 5 to those industrial properties, as I mentioned before, at the Port of Centralia and at the industrial park at TransAlta.
You said this will reduce congestion in North County. It will also reduce congestion on Harrison Avenue, correct?
That's correct. Item number 3 on your notice agenda is notice of hearing for the proposed 2015 annual construction program and the 6-year transportation improvement program for the years 2015 through 2020. As you're aware, we have to prepare, adopt, and submit a 6-year transportation improvement plan for all proposed road and bridge construction prior to the county's budget adoption, as I mentioned before. What we are proposing right now is that we will have a public hearing noticing this 6-year transportation improvement program, and the hearing date will be on November 17th, 2014. Thank you.
Any other questions for Tim? Any questions on the notice agenda? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of the notice agenda as presented, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
I move that we approve the consent agenda items 4 through 9, resolution number 14-288 through 293.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. The first item, resolution number 14288, is approval of warrants this week. There are 226 regular warrants to be approved for payment against the county in the amount of $1,113,776.70. Resolution 14289 is a housekeeping matter as far as the county is concerned. Each year, the county has to approve the needs and uses of funds previously receiving allocation and recommend changes with regard to the investment earnings. And this is where the investment earnings, this allocates investment earnings into the general fund for this year. I'll mention to the public that this fund used to generate, we used to generate somewhere in the neighborhood of $500,000 a year in this fund, and I think this year it's cruising along at about $75,000 because of the interest rates that we receive on our money now. The fund hasn't gone down so much as the interest rates have gone down, so it's not a fun deal for us. Delene?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm speaking to item 6 of the agenda, Resolution 14-290, authorization of the initial placements of casual district court clerk on the current Lewis County salary grid, a 13-step M grid for non-union extra help. Due to the vacancy in the district court office, the Lewis County District Court is requesting to hire a casual clerk to fill the duties of an open position. The Lewis County salary grid, 13-step M grid, maximum pay for a casual employee would not be competitive to hire a skilled clerk. This court is requesting that the casual clerk be placed at grade 13 on the Lewis County salary grid, 13-step M grid.
Delane, you might say who you are and who you
Oh,
represent.
I'm sorry, I'm Delane. I am Delane Coleman of HR, Human Resources. Okay. Thank you.
Tim, do you want to handle this? Where'd you go?
Good morning. I'm speaking to item number 7, resolution number 14-291. This is approving a master interlocal agreement or master interlocal agreements between Lewis counties and the municipalities of Chehalis, Morton, Mossy Rock, Napavine, Toledo, and Winlock. And we have just entered into a master interlocal agreement with the community of PL. This would allow for work to be accomplished by Lewis County for these municipalities over the upcoming 5-year period. This interlocal agreement is for a single item of $20,000 per year and an aggregate of $30,000 per year for each of these communities. The types of work that Lewis County may provide for these communities would include providing surfacing material, snow plowing, chip sealing, asphalt overlay, traffic striping, asphalt patching, grading, vegetation control, guardrail repair, providing traffic signs, surveying, grading roads, and other work as needed. Speaking to,
Tim, are we being asked to amend this to include PL in this
no,
agreement? Or are we
no,
gonna-
you're not. We've already included the one for PL, so we're
Okay,
done with that.
okay, very good.
Thank you.
Morning, Danette York, Director of Public Health and Social Services, and I'm speaking to items number 8 and 9. Number 8 is Resolution 14-292, and this is approving Amendment Number 17 to the consolidated contract with Washington State Department of Health. As you are aware, we normally hear this, or you normally hear this as the Board of Health at a Board of Health meeting, but since the November Board of Health meeting has been canceled, we needed to bring this forward to the BOCC. So this is the 17th amendment to the consolidated contract, and the consolidated contract is the primary vehicle for transferring federal and state funding to local health jurisdictions for planning and local implementation of public health prevention and early intervention programs and activities. This is a 3-year contract. It ends December 31st of 2014, so this should be the final amendment to this contract with a new contract starting in January of 2015. This amendment affects 2 areas within the consolidated contract. The first is the vaccine storage and handling project. It does not change any funding to this. It just extends the deadline of that project to 9/30/14, where it originally had been slated to end on 8/31/14. And the second area is a new program under the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program and Education, or sometimes referred to as SNAP-Ed. This is a new program that is started October 1st of 2014, and the funding in this amendment only runs through the end of the contract, which is December 31st, but it will continue on into the next contract in January and run for a federal fiscal year. And that amount is for $79,686. Any questions on that one? Okay, and item number 9 is Resolution 14-293. This resolution will approve a contract between Lewis County and the Cascade Mental Health Care to provide a prevention counselor to work in the PL school district. So this is coming under the 0.1% sales tax for chemical dependency, mental health, and therapeutic courts. This award is to Cascade Mental Health Care for $5,000, and they will put a prevention counselor in the PL school to work through the 2015 school year. So they were getting a prorated amount for the remainder of this calendar year, and then we'll get another amount beginning in January of 2015 for a total of $5,000. Thank you.
Any questions on the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote on the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We have 2 hearings this morning. The first is a closeout of a CDBG grant that the county's been involved with. And procedurally, for all our hearings, the procedure is we'll have a staff report explaining what this was all about. That will be followed by a question and answer period from the board and the public if they have any questions. And then we will close the question and answer period and call for a hearing on the presentation. And so Net will give us a staff report.
Again, Danette York, Director of Public Health and Social Services, and I will be speaking on the public hearing to close out the Community Development Block Grant Public Services Program for fiscal year July 1st, 2013 through June 30th of 2014. This is a community development block grant in the amount of $93,971 was received, $3,000 of which was retained by Lewis County for the administration of the grant. $90,971 was contracted with Community Action Council of Thurston, Mason, and Lewis counties. CAC, or Community Action Council, then provided direct public services for low and moderate income persons to link families to housing services within the counties of Mason and Lewis County only. As part of the closeout for this grant, I will provide you with the numbers of people that received the services. New access to services or benefits was 1,106 people, and improved access to the services and benefits was 8,118 people, for a total of 9,224 people within the counties of Mason and Lewis.
And that's an unduplicated count, right?
That is unduplicated count, correct. Typically, this was our first fiscal year serving as the administration for this grant, and in the future, when we have a public hearing to implement the next fiscal year, we could combine this closeout at the same time. So but we already had the public hearing for the new fiscal year without realizing we needed to do a closeout. So in the future, we will combine those two hearings.
Thank you. Any questions? And I'll close the question and answer period and open the public testimony period. Danette, would you like your comments to incorporate it into the hearing?
Yes, please.
So be it. Is there any comment from the board or the public on the closing out of the CDBG grant? Any comment from the board or the public? You good?
You're gonna let me use it here, and then I don't have to walk away over there. I'm Ron Averill, and I'm a former county commissioner. This program is run by the Community Action Council, which Edna now sits on. I sat on at the time that we did this transfer. And what happened is the grant was previously run by Thurston County, but unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, Thurston County was no longer eligible for the funds. The Community Action Council went to Mason to see if they'd run it, and they declined, and we picked it up. It does benefit both Mason and Thurston, or in Lewis County, and I think they do some really good work with it. So I'm glad to see that it's continuing to go.
Thank you. Any other comment on the proposed closeout? Seeing none, I will close the hearing and call for the vote on Resolution 14273. We need a motion. I need a motion to approve. I'm sorry. That's not the right one. 274.
I move that we approve the resolution 14-274.
Second?
Is that the right one or the wrong one?
It's a closeout hearing, so we don't need a resolution for that.
Oh, okay, that's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next hearing is regarding the ordinance for all-terrain vehicles on designated county roads. Same process will be used. I see there are a lot of people, and we have a lot of people that want to testify. Remember that the first portion of our hearing is to ask questions of the staff, and that's the purpose of the first section, and then we will close the question and answer period and ask for testimony from the public, just as we did with the CDBG grant. You will be given an opportunity to testify for or against. I would appreciate it if you would state at the onset, and you could put this down in your memory bank, your name, address, and your purpose for testifying, whether you're for or against, and then give your testimony why. If you can kind of do it that way, that would be appropriate. So we'll open the hearing on the Lewis County Code change regarding the operation of wheeled all-terrain vehicles on designated county roads and rights-of-way, led by Public Works Director Tim Elsey.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Elsey, Public Works Director. We're here today to discuss a proposed ordinance that would authorize the use of wheeled all-terrain vehicles on Salmon Creek Road and Coons Road outside of Mossy Rock. There is a sign-up sheet if anyone hasn't had an opportunity to sign it yet. If you would like to speak to this later, please sign up. A little history on the use of wheeled operating vehicles, or ATVs, on local roadways. In the mid-2000s, House Bill 1003 was presented by Representative Bill Hinkle out of Cle Elum, and this allowed local jurisdictions to determine whether or not they would allow wheeled operating vehicles on local roadways. This particular bill had no requirement for making the vehicle street legal, nor provided that a license plate was necessary. Because of the consolidated nature of this bill, there was some reluctance on the part of local governments to pass legislation. Representatives from the Cowlitz Basin ORV Club, which included Julian Compton, Larry Smith, and Gary Johnson, met with the county commissioners about 4 years ago, right when I got to the county, and to try to develop a comprehensive plan to allow the use of ATVs on certain county roadways. The county commissioners at that time asked the group to develop a comprehensive off-road vehicle plan, and through that process, there was further legislation that was introduced in 2013, and that was introduced by Representatives Shea, Blake, Christensen, Sells, Warnick, Upgrove, Wilcox, Scott, Moscoso, Fagan, and Condata. And I also received correspondence from Representative Orcutt indicating his support for the bill as well. The proposed bill went through several iterations, but in its final form, it wound up being what we will call an opt-in legislation for our size county. What I mean by that is that part of the bill states that all-terrain vehicles or wheeled operating vehicles are authorized on local roads of 35 miles per hour or less for counties that serve or that have residents of 15,000 or fewer. 15,000 or greater, the county commissioners have to opt into this legislation or designate roadways that would be where wheeled operating vehicles would be allowed. 8 counties have now authorized some legislation that will allow wheeled operating vehicles, and 6 were designated because of that $15,000 limit, or 15,000 person limit. This bill required that ORVs and ATVs become street legal and have license plate as well as other restrictions, which I'll discuss later. And even though it had restrictions, it enjoyed widespread support from the ATV groups, because my understanding from them is that they would like to foster the responsible use of ATVs on roadways. This bill actually was very close to dying in the legislature, but had a last hearing at the last minute, and it was approved by the House on June 28, 2013, and by the Senate on June 29, 2013, and signed into law by Governor Inslee on July 3, 2013. The law requires that in order for anyone to operate an ATV on a public roadway with speeds of 35 miles per hour or less, the vehicle must be street legal, as I mentioned before. That means that it has to have 2 headlights, stoplight, turn signals, reflectors, a mirror, or 2 if it's a side-by-side vehicle, a windshield, unless goggles or face shields are worn, a horn, brakes in working order, a spark arrestor, and seat belts if it's a side-by-side. It must also pass an inspection and pay a $50 inspection fee. They have to sign a liability release, and they have to have a license plate with an on-road tab, which is a cost of $12. If anyone would like to see what street legal looks like, Mr. Dick Bartall has graciously brought into town his ATV, and it's parked over at the Law and Justice Center. After this bill was passed, I was contacted again by members of the Cowlitz Basin ORV group, and we went out and looked at different roadways. What we looked at was initiating a pilot program for the county commissioners to evaluate, rather than just making a whole bunch of roads legal for ORVs. The idea behind that was to tweak the program as we go along to see if there are improvements that need to be made, if there are different changes that need to be made, if some roads are appropriate and some roads are not appropriate. The initial idea after our drive-through, the initial idea was presented by the Cowlitz Basin ORV group, and it included Longville Road from Winston Creek Campground to Salmon Creek Road. And I'm going to turn over some exhibits real quick. These are tough exhibits to see, but if anyone would like to walk up and look at these later, I'd be more than happy to look with them. But the problem was that coming from the DNR campground, Winter Creek Campground, onto Longbill Road, is that Longbill Road, it has a speed limit of 50 miles per hour. Because of that, we did a traffic study to see if we could lower the speed limit on that portion of Longbill Road. The traffic study indicated that the 85th percentile on this stretch of roadway was 52 miles per hour, indicating basically that a 50 mile per hour speed limit is the right speed limit for that stretch of roadway. In this process, I met with the sheriff, and the sheriff also discussed several concerns about ATVs on roadways. One of them certainly being, how the deputy would know if a road was allowed the use of ATVs. He agreed with the suggestion that the pilot program be from the campground on Longbill Road to Salmon Creek Road and then to access the state properties. If you will look at these exhibits, they're color-coded so that you can see the DNR properties in blue. So you can see that the Salmon Creek Road accesses several miles of DNR roadways. I am not an ATVer myself, so I'm not certain how many roads there are or exactly what roadways are included. So at this point, we had gone through a fairly long process, and the ORV group asked me to move forward with the legislation if we could not get that short stretch of Longbill Road. At that point, I worked with the prosecuting attorney's office, and there were some problems with the enabling legislation presented in the RCWs, but we were able to work through those, even though it took several iterations, and we came up with the ordinance that's in front of you today. The ordinance in front of you today has several restrictions, with some of those restrictions being that you cannot operate an wheeled all-terrain vehicle without a current or valid driver's license on the operator's person. You cannot operate it in such a manner as to endanger the property of another or at a rate of speed greater than the posted speed limit, in violation of the rules of the road which apply to motor vehicles, without any of the working headlights or blinkers or the making it street legal. You have to have a spark arrestor, proper eye protection, mirrors. It's illegal to trespass on private property, and several other restrictions. You can't harass wildlife, etc. So once the ordinance was written, I asked the Board of County Commissioners to notice a hearing on the proposal, and the notice went into the paper with an article. And I've received several inquiries to this proposal from the residents on Salmon Creek and Coons Road, and the majority have been negative. Several reasons for the negative response, but I think the biggest reason is that the residents were not praised of the proposal until they read it in the newspaper. And I want to, at this point, take responsibility for that. I had worked with the ORV and ATV group, and it was my understanding that they would be ensuring that the community knew about this proposal, but I should have ensured that there were public meetings at that time. One of the concerns that the residents have is that this will funnel all wheeled all-terrain vehicle users to this 4-mile, 5-mile section of roadway. One of the things that the ATV group has pointed out to me is that this does not open up the roads to non-street legal vehicles. In other words, it's not going to be a free-for-all on any of the roadways in this area. And I don't want to put words in their mouth, I think there are people here to speak to this, but it's their contention that if someone is going to be responsible and get the license plate to make sure that it's street legal, to get the inspection fee, and be a responsible owner, that they're not going to be the operators that are going to come up and destroy roadways or trespass on property. Another concern that was voiced to me is that how would we determine whether or not this pilot program is a success? One of the things that I've submitted is that if we move forward with a pilot program here or anywhere else in the county, that we have monthly meetings with the residents, the ORV community, the sheriff, and Public Works Department to bring back recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners to see if the program needs to be modified, if it can be moved in the same direction forward, or if it needs to be eliminated altogether. And with that, I will conclude my testimony.
Okay, that concludes the staff presentation. We will, I'm sorry. Glenn, go
If
ahead.
I could just add a couple of points. Glenn Carter from the Prosecuting Attorney's Office. And just to add a few points for purposes of clarification, because I think there are some potential misconceptions concerning this legislation. First of all, I do want to point out that the legislation provides that the public roads be designated by ordinance. So some people may ask why it is not done by resolution, but in the legislation itself passed by the legislature, it says a person may not operate a wheeled all-terrain vehicle on a public roadway within the boundaries of a county unless the county, by ordinance, has approved the operation of wheeled all-terrain vehicles on county roadways. It goes on to say that any public roadways authorized by a legislative body of a county under section C1 that I've just read to you of this subsection must be listed publicly. So the idea of the legislation is for us to authorize these roadway by roadway. That's true of all wheeled terrain vehicles. Also with respect to off-road vehicles, the same legislation says the legislative body of a county may, by ordinance, designate a road or highway within its boundaries to be suitable for use by off-road vehicles. So again, this is done by ordinance, listing the specific roadways that are going to be authorized for this purpose and for this treatment under this legislation. The additional point that I've noticed in the course of this debate has also been a misconception about liability. And there is a provision, as there often is in state legislation, there's a provision that releases the state from liability. And there is indeed in this legislation a provision that releases the state from liability because it says that persons, pull it out here. There is a provision that requires the owner of the vehicle to release the state of Washington from liability at the time that they issue a declaration. There's a declaration that's made that the owner is going to release the state from liability. There's also another provision in the statute that says, it says a person who operates a wheeled all-terrain vehicle upon a public roadway must provide a declaration that includes the following: a release signed by the owner of the wheeled all-terrain vehicle and verified by the department, county auditor, or other agent or sub-agent appointed by the director that releases the state from any liability and outlines that the owner understands that the original wheeled all-terrain vehicle was not manufactured for on-road use and that it has been modified for use on public roadways. There was a suggestion that this extended to the county. In the statute where it says the state, it is only the state. The county is not released from liability, so that there is still a residual liability on the part of the county with reference to this program. And I want that to be clear before we enter into it. There is a final bill report that also deals with the liability issue. And the final bill report has a statement in it that says a wheeled all-terrain vehicle is an ORV, off-road vehicle, for the purposes of recreational immunity statutes. Again, the recreational immunity statutes are again limited to the state. They provide an immunity to the state with respect to conveyances or transportation within parks and for recreational purposes. There is not an immunity for purposes of the county. So again, the county is not released from liability here. The final point I wanted to make was that our proposed ordinance is for 1 year. This is a 1-year pilot program. And so if at the end of the year, depending on the criteria and the measurements for success or benchmarks for success that are evaluated by the commission at that time, it could be terminated. And the program could be terminated in its entirety. Or a decision could be made by the commission at that time to extend it if it has in fact been successful. Okay, that concludes our staff report. And now we will open the
question and answer period, and again, I remind the public that the questions to be directed at the staff to anything that they've presented in made their presentation. If you have questions, clarifications that you would like clarified, anything that's to be asked at this time, ask your questions. If you would come up to the podium and do that, then we will go through that process, close the question and answer, and then proceed with public comment and hearing.
Mr. Chair, I do have one question. Sure. Just again, I didn't hear what you said the proposed ordinance number is.
It's not in the code.
I haven't numbered it yet, at least on this one.
We don't have a code, change designated yet at this time.
I'm Ron Averill, 2523 Graff Road, Centralia. Glenn, this is directed to you because I want to make sure that the public understands the difference between the not being able to sue the state and not being able to sue a city or county. And that is because we're municipal corporations. If you could explain that reason, what that really means and why that means that the city and the county are suable?
Yes. The counties and the cities are municipal corporations which are separate legal entities under state law. Although the state of Washington the legislature may choose to grant the state immunity or protections, unless they also grant those to the counties and cities, which are separate legal entities, separate municipal corporations, then those cities and counties do not enjoy the immunities that otherwise apply to the state of Washington. Does that answer your question?
And they could do that legally, Glenn. They could actually stipulate in the law, in the statute, that the counties and cities could be exempt.
They could do that.
Okay. My name is Richard Hill. I live on Salmon Creek Road. I have a few questions that I just wrote down. They're not in any order, but I guess there was one group that made the proposal. I understand they're from a different county.
I don't know that for sure.
That's what I understand. They're from an outside county. Can anyone answer that?
No, I'm sorry, it's the Cowlitz Basin ORB group. They are from.
I heard they're from an outside county. Are there any designated parking areas on Salmon Creek?
No, there aren't.
I live on the first house on the right as you go down, and there's a large area that a lot of people use presently to park. It's private, and I can just see, since that's the beginning area on Salmon Creek, all of a sudden, we're going to see a parking lot of trucks, ATVs, and all that stuff.
You've gone from asking a question to giving testimony. So
so the question is there any designated parking areas on Salmon Creek or Coons Road?
And the answer is no.
Okay. If people park off the road, how far off the road can they park?
It's a 60-foot right-of-way, so generally it's 30 feet from center line.
So they can park 30 feet off. You say generally, is that?
As long as the roadway runs within the center of the right-of-way.
So they can park 30 feet basically onto our property?
No, it would have to stay on the right-of-way. They cannot trespass on the private property.
And if they are off that onto our property, can we have them towed?
If there is someone that trespasses onto your property, you may call the sheriff's office, or you may take assume the risk yourself that you've made the proper determination. It would probably be best to call the sheriff's office in that instance.
If drivers are, okay, first of all, do all the vehicles have to have insurance?
All drivers in Washington State do have to have insurance.
For those vehicles?
That would cover the vehicles, yes.
Okay, so if they don't have insurance, what
Are you talking about off-road vehicles, or are you talking about motor vehicles?
The vehicles that would be driving on those roads, the ATVs.
No, they're a class of vehicle like a motorcycle in this state, and they're not required to have insurance.
Oh, they don't need to have insurance? Okay. If the vehicles are being driven recklessly or too much noise, et cetera, is there anything that we as homeowners can do, or?
If you feel that someone is driving in violation of the rules of the road and violating I believe motorcycle rules of conduct apply to those that are driving these vehicles, and if you believe that they've committed a traffic infraction, you can contact the sheriff's office to look into that.
But, by that time they get there, an hour later, we have no idea where they're even at.
There is a provision in the statute itself, in the state statute, that provides the officer some discretion with respect to, they don't actually have to be personal witnesses to the conduct. There is a provision in the statute itself that authorizes this, that gives them some leeway when they are not personal witnesses.
Okay, are large gatherings such as poker runs and other large gatherings, is that okay? Have you ever been to a poker run? 25, 50, 100 riders? Have you ever been to one of these? Are those legal?
I don't know what a poker run is.
Well, it's a gathering of ATVs where they get together and have a run that may be 5 miles and maybe 100 miles. And they go over designated area, they have a start and an end. And it could last 1 or even 2 days or even longer. And you can get large groups of ATVs doing this.
I'm not aware of any county regulation with respect.
So this would be allowed.
With respect to the state law, I haven't researched it, but it sounds like it's something that probably would not be prohibited.
Yeah.
If there's not otherwise a violation of the traffic code.
So we have to keep that in mind. Once they start coming, they would all funnel in here.
Again, you're testifying.
Okay.
Please keep your questions. You'll have time to testify too if you'd like to.
Are there any noise restrictions? I mean, right now we have, there are drivers right now going up and down the road, and I've never seen a cop stop any driver. And some of these get very loud. Are there any noise restrictions on these? Or?
In terms of the traffic code, I believe that the only kind of limitations you might have are on equipment, but with respect to noise in general, no. To my knowledge, there aren't any restrictions on that, because generally under state law, though there is a court decision that came down from the Court of Appeals last week that maybe changes it for the future, but for the moment it is basically under state law in Washington, you have to have decibel measurements in order to regulate noise, and it's a very difficult science of measuring noise. And so it's highly ineffective noise regulation in Washington. However, there is potentially a door that was opened last week by the Court of Appeals.
There is a clause in the ordinance, number H, letter H, which says that without an adequate operating muffling device, the vehicle may not be operated without an adequate operating. The vehicle may not be operated without an adequate and operating muffling device which effectively limits vehicle noise in compliance with the requirements of RCW 4609-470. Stay down, Gary. Thank you. If you want to ask a question, you can ask a question. If you don't have a question to ask, then stay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name's Mark James. I'm at 158 Coombs Road. And my question to you guys, is there any limitations on when these vehicles can be driven, such as midnight, 3 o'clock in the morning?
No, there's no limitation.
They could drive all day and all night?
Not from this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have a question?
Yes, I have a question, and I'd like to address this noise issue.
No. You have a question?
Are you aware of the law that's in the 1632 that address specifically the number of decibels at 85 at 12 inches And they have to have a specific mufflers that are approved by the users, by the equipment they bought. They have to all have good mufflers on them, and they cannot go with those decibels. And you know that?
Yeah, as I said, other than equipment, which has been pointed out.
But it's
there is-
actually in the bill, the whole process of, the noise thing. So it goes way back.
Decibel measurement is something that's more of an art than a science, and that's the issue with respect to Washington law.
Yeah, say like you were talking about a poker run, they go up and ride, every one of them, they go through there and test it with the right on the spot next to, have to be 12 inches away from the mufflers itself.
Mr. Johnson, you got to testifying. I appreciate you asking
Yep.
the question. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sana Marcolt. I live at 139 Coons Road. What will stop any ATV user from, who crashes onto my property from suing me or trying to access my homeowner's insurance?
I'll say what I say generally about suing, is that anybody who's willing to pay the $240 fee for filing a lawsuit against someone may do so. It's the question of whether it will be upheld by the court and whether the court will permit the complaint to pursue and the lawsuit to continue is another question. But always you have free access to the courts, and people, not free, $240 a complaint. You have access to the courts, those that wish to do so. In terms of what the potential liability of one's homeowner's insurer is, in those circumstances, it depends on the facts and circumstances of the case.
Have any additional funds been earmarked for extra police coverage in this area? Has the county earmarked any additional funds for police coverage in this area?
No, not that I'm aware of.
As part of this ordinance, has the county earmarked any additional funds for extra fire or EMT response?
The county doesn't provide for fire or EMT.
Have any funds been earmarked for road repair?
Not any additional, nor do we expect any from ATV use.
Have the sheriff and the county decided what the threshold is for responding to a call?
I can't imagine that it would be different than any other call that they would receive.
So you guys haven't discussed it?
No, we have not.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the staff? Any questions for the staff? Then I will close the question and answer period and ask the two presenters if you'd like your comments incorporated into the hearing.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Okay, so we will open the hearing on the ATV ordinance, and we have several people who have signed up to testify. I will remind you that testimony is limited to 3 minutes. And I don't want to be rude, but we have 21 people. If everybody takes 3 minutes, that's another hour. The procedure is to state your name and address as we've designated before. And the timer is set up. The green light means you can talk. When the green light starts to flash, it's right up here on the podium. If the green light starts to flash, that means you've got 1 minute. When it goes to orange, you've got 30 seconds, and when it turns to red, we'll ask you to sit down. So we will proceed with the hearing on the ATV ordinance as proposed. And the first one to testify is Gary Johnson.
Thank you, Commissioners. I really appreciate this, to be able to stand in front of you and talk to you about
Name and
this.
address, please.
Pardon?
State your name and address, please.
I'm sorry, Gary Johnson. I live at 18901, 119th Avenue Southeast in Yelm, Washington, 98597.
You.
This bill basically started in 2007, and the group that started it basically Larry Smith and about 2,000 signatures to try and get some kind of ability to ride on these roads. And ATVs were developed and have no places to ride. And so our bill, 1632, was really a revelation and a great deal of amount of work, and you can see the depth in the bill itself and how these work. These vehicles are basically designed as requested underneath the Federal Register in one corner, taking hearings, we created a vehicle that actually has a motorcycle license. It actually has an ORV tag, and it has to have headlight, turn light, signals, and mirrors, and all of that goes with it. And the muffler systems have to be at a certain build and a certain noise. They can be tested. You can buy the testers really easy. It was to allow the U.S. Forest Service has a 2005 plan called the multi-use projects, and nothing happened to us. Nothing happened that we could actually ride in the Forest Service these kind of vehicles. And so they started in 2005, and nothing really happened until Gar Boss and our Callis Basin group of Larry Smith's club, which we started, actually created this multi-use in the Callis Basin RV Club. Yeah, we're actually in the Callis Basin District Rangers. And we have about 25 miles that we're able to use there, and that's the process we're using clear throughout the whole state. We worked with Tim Elsey, as he said, 4 years ago, and through these suggestions, we really appreciate all of his hard work. We're told that in Idaho, these vehicles that have these, that actually ride right down on the roads, they have a driver's license. You have to have everything with the licensing to it, and they actually help bring down the crime rate a great deal, and it helps. And we use these vehicles more as when we're in the roads riding as if it was as if we were out there patrolling, and we actually talk about it and we do it right within the clubs. And some of us have actually had outside training on how to identify a vehicle.
Mr. Johnson, your time is up.
Pardon?
Your time is up.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Kevin McClay.
Good morning. My name's Kevin McClay. I live at 443 Salmon Creek Road. I am against this ordinance for a number of reasons. Essentially, this ordinance will take our community and create a recreational vehicle area out of our community. It's not something that we endorsed. Nobody approached us and discussed this. From the showing here, it would probably be a waste of time anyway. Essentially, passing this ordinance is defining an area for recreational purposes. You are creating a recreational area, without a doubt. That, in my mind, puts the county on the hook for facilities, for infrastructure. There again, there's a liability that comes to the county by doing this. So toilet facilities, garbage, is the Parks Department going to come out and police the roads for water bottles and that sort of stuff? I don't think at this time this ordinance should be passed. It does not look like it's been thought through, does not look like it's been discussed thoroughly. Understand that this is a one-year pilot program. It does not appear that it's really thought through the impacts. I can assure you that the commissioners do not appreciate how sound travels through our little valleys out there. I can hear a chainsaw half a mile away. Okay, we start getting these vehicles running up and down the road, it's going to be quite a nuisance. It's not a safe road for a lot of traffic. I am not necessarily against off-road vehicles being permitted on the road. I'm opposed to this ordinance and what it's creating in our community. You are saying, hey, everybody in the state, the country, there's a few roads that are allowed these vehicles to ride on. Come on in here. Come on into this community and ride your vehicles around. I don't think any of you want that. I'm not asking for it. Other than that, that's kind of where I stand on things, and I appreciate the time. I don't think this is the proper place to do this. I think you could find a community with fewer people, fewer impacts, and try again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Player. Dot Workman?
Hi, I'm Dot Workman, and I live at 886-21 Salmon Creek Road, so I'm a resident as well. I've been a resident for 18 years in that community. My husband and I have 4 quads. We are active ATV riders. We utilize Capitol Forest out of Little Rock. We also go and travel to Randall as well, and we use the permitted roads, the trails where we live, and we do that respectfully and responsibly and within the bounds of the law. However, I'm concerned that our community, I oppose this because this is opening up, just like the former person stated, our residents to a recreational area. Our community was not asked for input. This was not a thought-out plan. The measures that are being proposed are not taking into account the unsafe road system that we have. We do not have shoulders on almost the entirety of our road system. There's a steep embankment that goes down to the creek, some places over 100 feet down. We have lots of wrecks as it is, all times of year on our road system. Police response time is a half an hour at best. A lot of times it's up to an hour and a half depending on the urgency of the issue that they're responding to. There's lots of liability and cause. We have a neighborhood watch that we established because of the theft and the vandalism and the emergency issues that we have in our community because we're so isolated. We don't have cell phone service where we live. And we have to police a lot of issues ourselves. This is not a responsibility that our neighborhood is willing to take on. I am a responsible ATV user, and I do have to travel, just like everyone else, to find opportunities to ride our bikes. But being a resident, turning a residential area into a recreational area is not, it's not something that's conducive of having a relationship between ATV riders and residential residents. It's not promoting a positive relationship. All this is doing, the way that it's being established without community input and forming a plan together, the only thing we're doing is we're pitting ourselves against each other. We need to be tabling this, in my opinion, and coming back to the table and coming up with a plan that everyone can agree on. So if it's decided that we use the roads, it's done in a way that is responsible for everyone and everybody can live with. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Dick. Richard Hill.
Hey, again, my name is Richard Hill. I live at 126 Salmon Creek Road in Mossy Rock. We moved there about, we bought property in 2005 and we just built and moved into a new home there back in February. And across the street, again, is a sort of an area where a lot of people, a lot of hunters, like to park. And we can just see that turning into a sea of parking for the people that come here. But I made a few notes. You have to imagine this. One day we are leading a normal, quiet, peaceful lives living in the woods in Mossy Rock. We are thankful that we moved here to get away from the crowds, the traffic, the noise, and the people. Suddenly, our lives are turned upside down. Our out-of-the-way country road is designated as the only road in Lewis County to allow street-legal ATVs to be driven on. And then they come. The trucks with trailers loaded with ATVs. They park on the sides of the roads and in the empty private property across the street from us. Once the ATVs are offloaded, the noise begins. Loud, throaty, angry noise. The drivers drive up and down the road. Some drive fast, others are slow. Some do tricks, wheelies, and other things. Many just sit and watch the activities. Some weekends there are gatherings for poker rides and other events. All the while, the noise, the people, the ATVs, and the movement. It doesn't stop. Have you ever been to a poker run with 25, 50, or 100 riders? It is fun, but it would be a disaster for the people living on Salmon Creek and Coons Road. This new proposal is not a benefit to our community. Our two roads, our community, was proposed by an ATV group from another county. Not only does this ATV group ride our roads, but others from around the state and even out-of-state drivers are funneled here to enjoy our two roads and our community. They get all the benefits. We get the noise, the people, the ATVs, and the movement, and the trash. ATVs are fun to ride, and yes, it would be nice to have more areas to ride in, but opening up one small area in Lewis County is not fair to the people that live in that area. We were not even asked for input. We are ready to make this a law, and yet you didn't even ask for our input. I have to ask myself, if you or your parents lived on our roads, would you approve this proposal? I can't imagine you or your parents feel any different than we do. Loud noise and unwanted activity is not welcome by anyone.
Mr. Hill, thank you.
Thank you.
Dick Bartol? Dick Bartol? Dick's not out there. Larry Smith? Oops.
My name is Larry Smith, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak about ordinance, and I don't know what the number is, 2014 or what is it?
Doesn't have a number yet.
Okay. We've been working with Tim Elsey, and we've had a proposal, and this proposal has been shot down in various ways. We started with up on by the campground, the Ivy's campground, and we wanted to go from there down to the Green Mountain Road, and from the Green Mountain Road to the Long Bell Road, and from the Long Bell Road out to Salmon Creek. And as we were riding out there with Tim Elsey and everything, we included the Coons Road. And I actually feel the Coons Road is not a good road for ATVs to be on. And I agree with Lee Gross on that article that they put in. But one thing that we were shot down on, and we were talking about the Winston Creek campground, the DNR campground. We worked on that campground and had it opened up, and as a club we worked in there to get it going. And so it's now open. But I think we're a responsible group. We're mostly a senior citizens group, and we've been working to get ATV access mainly on Forest Service roads. And we have accomplished that right at the present time on one strip of road, which is 15 miles up in the Blue Lake area. And that will become law in March, according to the head man of the Forest Service there. I didn't expect that we would have this much against the ATVs on the roads. They're considered a highway legal vehicle. And I have here a deal from the Department of Licensing. It's going to cost me $43.75 next year in January to make my bike legal with the license. It's the same as a vehicle, considered the same as a vehicle, and that's where we're at on that. We got two of them. We enjoy them. Our club enjoys campouts, cookouts, and so forth. And I see my time is up, but anyway. Thank you for the time.
I have a little trouble reading this name. Moss Creek Fire Department. Daniel? Right. Yeah, you.
I'm Durant McDaniel. I live at 976 Gore Road, Alaska. I'm the fire chief of the area that the proposed roads are. I am a quad rider. I have been past member of the Pacific Northwest Four-Wheel Drive Association. I'm not here, actually, I'm speaking before or against. I'm going to give a real quick realism of what response time is for us up there. The closest ambulances for that area are either Salcombe or Mossrock. They're both the same speed. It's going to take 18 minutes to get up to Coons Road. It's going to take 16 minutes to get to, to the end of Coons Road, to the end of Salmon Creek. 16 minutes to get to Coons Road's juncture. It's 10 minutes to the start of Salmon Creek Road from the closest ambulance, where they're talking about where they might drop off bikes. I'm just giving a reference of where that is. For us, we have to worry about the golden hour if somebody's injured. That's real tight if something happens up here. I'm just pointing that out. Helicopter is 17 to 40 minutes ETA for us. Once dispatch, I'm going to give you real quick numbers on dispatch. What we've run in the past number of years. A street bike, 2/3 of the calls we are sent to for a street bike are airlifted. 50% of the ATVs we are sent to are airlifted. Half of them do not wear a helmet. Communications. I am past the service guy for the phone area up there when I worked there. Cell phones, as they said, are very spotty. There's only 2 spots you can get signals up in that valley. The land phone system is very fragile. If somebody wipes off the phone boxes out there, we could lose the phone system. And I'll let you know that. I shouldn't say that, but we are blessed. The county did fix our fire radio system out of Silver Creek, so we do get fire radios in there, but it's limited things. The expectation that aid's going to come in a hurry is my concern, is just to pass on to everybody. Being a member of ORV clubs, being a member of this group, I'm not questioning, does not have good thoughts. It's the problems we are going to have with the people that don't abide by the laws. And where are we going to have, how soon is law enforcement going to be able to get there? And how do we regulate the system is what I want to pose to the board. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Terry Crocker.
My name's Terry Crocker. I live at 487 Creek Road, Mossrock, Washington. Most everything I wanted to say has been covered. And I know the ATV people that have spoken here are probably law-abiding. But I don't see anybody driving down a 5-mile road going 35 miles an hour. I'm sorry, I don't see any fun in that, other than going from one destination to another, to their home and back. I don't see any, and you're gonna have the people that not, the kids, the 21-year-olds, the 19-year-olds, they're gonna be flying up that road. I have concerns with logging trucks now that come down logging roads without even stopping on Salmon Creek, and I've almost been hit twice, me and my wife. I have hunters every year from October to January. I see one in the ditch every year. That's basically all I have to say. This is my concerns about, and the road's not very well kept.
Thank you. Elizabeth Browning.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Brown, and I'm at 288 Coons Road, and I've lived there for 24 years. I just want to tell you what it has been like living there Christmases. ATVs are a typical Christmas gift for parents to give their kids. And on Christmas Day, for at least 6 Christmases, my late husband and I experienced people with their little kids going into ditches and having to be towed. And who has to call the tow truck? We do, because there's no cell phone. We get a knock on the door, they walk up the driveway, they say, "We see you have a tractor, can you help us?" Yes, we've helped them, but it's really not a safe place. Thank you very much.
Mark James.
Thank you. My name's Mark James. I'm 158 Coons Road, and I oppose this. I see ATVs, ORVs, these kind of vehicles. I mean, people buy them because basically they do want to go off-road. And in the case of Coons Road, it is completely lined by private property. There is no access to any other road, any other means to get into the woods. And our concern is that someone will come into our driveways, go up into our fields and into our yards. And as far as Salmon Creek is concerned, Salmon Creek is quite a hilly road, and on one side is a steep hill, on the other is deep drop-offs. And as was mentioned before, there are no shoulders on either of these roads. And on the roads is commercial traffic. There's logging trucks, school bus, delivery trucks, and the residential traffic of our own. And you put in this mix these ATVs, and sure, they're out there to have fun, and that's great, but you're also putting them at risk with this traffic. And it's sooner or later, someone's going to get hurt or killed, and it's going to be a field day when it's brought up in court that basically this ordinance is telling people to go out and play in traffic. It's not a wilderness out there. It seems that's what people think at this point. No, it's a residential area. It's a rural residential area. We live there, and it's quiet, which is good, and we have horses and we raise cows. And it seems a shame that we could have all this noise and disruption in our neighborhoods. And I'm afraid that some people see this area as being the remoteness that is, as an easy place to burglarize our homes, break into our sheds and our barns. And this ordinance basically invites strangers from probably even more than just our state, outside our state as well, to come into our neighborhood and with vehicles that basically can go anywhere, and they can go at any time of day or night. And I think this is all going to end very badly, and I'm definitely opposed to this. I certainly am not happy that we were not considered when this was being drafted. That's kind of a disservice, I think, to our community. And I hope this bill does not pass. I would wish that you would vote it down. I think it's back to the drawing board for this one. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mark. Fred Harper? Fred Harper? You gonna wave? Okay. And Marilyn?
Hello, my name is Marilyn Harper, 461 Frogner Road, Adna, Washington. I'm for the ATVs to be able to ride on roads. I think the solution would be to have more roads to ride on instead of just the area at Mossy Rock. We are mostly all seniors, and we don't leave garbage, and we're not rude, and we we picked up garbage. So I just want you to know we're here to hopefully be able to get some roads. So, thank you.
Michael Reed?
My name is Mike Reed, and I live in Onalaska, 142 View Ridge Road. I feel for the people in Salmon Creek, what they're going through. They weren't notified of what was going through, but I also feel for the organized quad people who are just looking for a place to ride. And according to the legislation, it was supposed to be secondary roads, what I understand, under speed limits of 35 miles an hour. And there are places all over the county that fit that 35-mile-an-hour zone. And the county could also put a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit for these bikes. And the quad people would, by distributing the people throughout the county, instead of trying to put them in one area, is the biggest mistake. it shouldn't have been done. The quad people that I know of are retired people. Their equipment is good, and they're safe people to ride with. We had a tragedy up in the mountains this last year where the little boy ran off into the Sispus River and drowned. These machines were never made to babysit for parents that just buy them and use them. The state law states that you have to be 16 years old to operate one of these things. And people are putting them on kids under them that are not qualified. A lot of the other states have ordinances to use these on secondary roads the same way that we're trying to get under 35 miles an hour. And we're just looking for a place to be able to ride. But by distributing the places we can ride, we're not going to interfere with the people up here in Salmon Creek. And if they're having a problem, they should get a hold of the sheriff's department with little kids, because they are not, under state law, even supposed to be on these machines, even if they're with their parent. The way the law is written on these machines, you have to be 16 years old to ride them. And if the county would give the secondary roads to the bikes and the UTVs throughout the county, it would disperse this problem that we're having at Salmon Creek and Cooks Reed. And if they have to start another pilot program to do this, it'll give the responsible people
Mr. Lamb, your time.
in our club a place to ride. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ashley Lamb.
Hello, my name is Ashley Lamb, and I'm the current owner of Ivy's Rifle Lake Campground, and I would like to allow my property to be a designated parking lot for the riders. I myself am a young, responsible rider. If trash blows out of my vehicle, I pull over, I pick it up. If I pull over for lunch somewhere and there's trash, I pick it up. I do the same thing and at waterfronts, anything like that. Allowing this to pass would not only help me, it would further my income, not just the summer months, but into the winter months as well, but it would also help our community. We are a small community. Moss Rock relies on just the seasonal income of out-of-towners that come through to stay, and it would help, it would help the community. The grocery stores, the gas stations, the local eateries, and also I'd be willing to do fundraisers to raise money for porta potties, for dumpsters, and anything like that as well. Thank you.
Could you tell me again what was the name of your business?
Rifle Lake Campground.
Oh, Rifle Lake, okay.
And the address is...
Where's it located?
241 Osborne Road.
How far away from Salmon Creek is it?
Osborne meets Green Mountain, and
I thought.
So you're saying you want people to drive 7 miles to Salmon Creek off-road, on their ATVs to get to Salmon Creek?
Mr. Hill, let me ask the question, if you will. But I would like to know the answer to that question. How far are you from Salmon Creek Road?
it's about 7-10 miles.
And so your proposal would be that they would park in your campground and ride their four-wheelers to Salmon Creek? Is that
Yes.
Which that's not part of this proposal at all, because we can't. That Winston Creek Road is a 50-mile-an-hour road, not a 35-mile-an-hour road.
Well,
And
we
that's the
would
only
be
way they could
going
get there.
on Winston Creek Road. They'd be going from Osborne to Green Mountain to, I think it's Perkins to Salmon Creek.
Okay. That's not part of the proposal, but we'll look at that. Tom DePola.
My name's Tom DePola. I live at 133 Salmon Creek Road. And we have a lot of hunters and things that park on our property as of now. So our biggest concern would be just a lot of extra vehicles parking on the property where we have to put up a fence or something like that. I think it would be a good idea to have a place designated for people to park off of the main roads. Like you're saying, the DNR has all that property there for people to ride. Why don't they open up an area there to allow people to park their vehicles there, and so they don't even have to use the roads. Thank you.
Thank you. Bernard Clevenger. Yeah, pass. Paula Clevenger.
Hi, my name is Paula Clevenger, 277 Murray Road, Morton. And I just want to let people know, again, we are very responsible, we aren't noisy, we always leave the area cleaner and improved from what we found it. It's a part of our club rules, so to speak. We're, like I said, very responsible, very law-abiding, and all of our equipment meets all of the criteria for being legal to ride there. And we also have 2 four-wheelers that are licensed in Idaho. And when we're over there, you can ride your four-wheelers just like cars right in the town that we have property in. And no one seems to have an issue with it. And the four-wheelers, for all intents and purposes, police themselves, their members, and anyone else that's riding with them. So again, I think that you people on the Coons Road and the Salmon Creek Road should maybe just give it a second thought. Thank you.
Thank you. Diana Gilk. Okay. Charles Reynolds.
Thank you for letting me speak. I hear a lot both ways, but what the problem is...
Mr. Reynolds, we record these. Would you state your name and address?
Oh, Charles Reynolds. I'm at 227 Coons Road. I'm halfway up the one road that they're talking about. I keep hearing a public access to it. That road's a dead-end road. Goes nowhere. It ends up in 2 neighbors' yards. And the last thing we need is four-wheelers ripping up down that road, which... I'm sorry, gentlemen, ladies, there isn't that many of you out there that won't get on a gravel road and see just how hard you can push it. I raced motorcycles for too many years. I know that. And so doing this, you're just creating problems for everybody on Salmon and the Coons Road. Road's not wide enough, it's not safe enough. You got logging trucks. And I don't know if any of you ever been on that road with a logging truck. Not fun. They take their half out of the middle. Saturday night we went out for dinner. Guess what was going up the road at Salmon Creek? Kid on a three-wheeler, no lights, at 6:20 at night. Accident looking to be done, which puts your guys' neck in the news along with the rest of us. I'd seriously think this over before you even do anything. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron Averill.
Ron Averill, 2523 Graff Road in Centralia. I'd point out that when this came up the first time, I was a county commissioner here. As I remember, the conversation that originally started was, how can we move from trailheads and campgrounds to trails and using off-roads? Of course, that was before the new regulations came out, which had some requirements for the vehicles to actually go on roads. It was a terrible concern to the sheriff at the time that we would have vehicles on the roads that did not meet the standards, and they would interfere with traffic. And I think that probably is still a concern where we are. It is great to talk about the responsibility of older riders of RVs, but unfortunately, you aren't the only ones that ride the things. I remember when we originally looked at this project that one of the trails that's down in Grays Harbor County had extensive damage from RV riders. Now, this regulation only talks about use of county roads and not what you do to repair the damage that's done on private property. I would also suggest that we really need to look at the liability and the coverage that we would have from the risk pool and what that would cost us in terms of damages in this area. And as you all know, I've been a stickler. This is a revision, I mean, it actually adds to county code. It'd be a new chapter 10.22 Lewis County Code. But we do need to put the next number, or the ordinance number on it in order to pass an ordinance to get it into the county code. I'd recommend that this get more study before we pass it.
Thank you. Senator Markholt.
Hello. My name is Sana Markholt, and I live at 139 Coons Road. My family has lived there for more than 20 years, and one of the most important things that makes this area special is the feeling of community. There are 48 homes in our community. Being somewhat isolated, we have a unique set of issues. We deal with increased response time from police and fire, drug crimes, poachers, garbage dumping, illegal road use by the ATVs currently, and dirt bikes, private property damage, interference with livestock by hunters and recreational visitors, and the list goes on. What we put up with now is enough. ATV users can already access Washington DNR lands by buying a Discover Pass. DNR lands can already be enjoyed by ATV users without any need to travel Salmon Creek and Coons Roads. Coons Road does not even have any access to any state DNR lands. Lewis County calls this a pilot project, but this project has no plan. No other county that has implemented similar plans was contacted by Lewis County to find out what challenges they faced. There are no thresholds to determine failure or success currently. There is no plan to aggregate data regarding police calls, fire, EMT calls, private property violations, garbage accumulation, or the actual numbers of participants. Nobody is going to track which ATV users are actually buying Discover Passes to utilize DNR lands, or how many riders are just coming to ride on Salmon Creek and Coons Roads because they can. Nobody is planning to track how many ATV riders are from Eastern Washington, how many are from out of state. There are no plans for any surveys of residents to determine what kind of experiences they have had. There are exactly zero measures or parameters to tell us what success means. If this were approved today, it would simply be a law. And would there be any penalties for abusing the law? Who would declare and enforce a banishment from the roads? I know the ATV clubs are responsible, but the selection of these two roads in all of Lewis County will only serve to funnel an influx of riders to these roads. Blogs and websites will publicize this road opening as soon as it is approved. Any intrusion upon this residential area on this scale should first ask, what is the projected impact on the community? No additional funds have been earmarked by the county for extra police, fire, EMT services, or to address the degrading roads to make them safer. There are currently no parking places for vehicles or ATV trailers, no turnarounds except in private driveways, no bathrooms, nor garbage receptacles, no planned signs offering any kind of guidance to ATV operators. Nobody will be able to force the bad actors to behave. The police can't chase every lawbreaker who disappears into the woods. When the state approved this law, it did so without any funds to mitigate any negative impacts on any state lands or any other areas where this law can be applied. The physical evidence on the DNR lands surrounding our community would indicate at this time there is no stewardship taking place by any group using public property. There is garbage everywhere. I see my time is up, almost. All right. 2 Lewis County officials told me that representatives from the ATV community indicated to them that they had reached out to our community, but this was simply not true.
Now your time is up.
Thank you.
That concludes the people who have signed up for public testimony. So we will conclude that.
Mr. Chair, there's one gentleman that came
Oh,
late.
come on up.
My name is Julian Compton. I live at 624 Highland Valley Road in Morton, Washington. I'm the president of the Cowles Basin ORV Club, and we've had several rides over on the Winston Creek Road. When there's a group of people of 5 or more, we usually travel between 15 and 18 miles an hour. If you're out to see the beauty of nature and enjoy the outdoors, if you're driving more than 6 miles an hour, you're looking at a picket fence. The trees are just solid. So, you know, I understand what the people are talking about. We have some youth over there that's got racing machines. They're not even 16 years old. They just tear through everything. We hate them just as bad as you do. They're noisy. They're a 2-cycle machine. Their idea is to get through a mud hole. Is the faster you go, the less you sink. So this is not what we're asking for. We're asking for safe vehicle travel, recreation. It's done worlds of greatness to Kentucky and Virginia and those people that are struck by the coal mines. They're making a fortune. It's going to help those that have motels, gas stations, grocery stores. Every bit of this brings in new people in the area. They will be shopping in our stores. So, you know, I really understand the people that when they say they don't want all this wild stuff going up and down the road. One ride that we went on, where the 2000 and the 1000 road comes together, we got separated. We lost contact with each other. There was 13 of us in that group. We was looking on the road to see which way they traveled when they got to that intersection. You couldn't tell. We just literally couldn't tell. That's how much damage it does. So I appreciate what they're saying. We're not the ones that are given the trouble. It's the ones under 16. Their parents have got a babysitter when they buy them a 4-wheeler. They give us a bad name. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public testimony? Anybody else want to talk? Come on up.
My name is Rudy Parise. I live at 174 Aldridge Road in Montserrat. A couple things come up I was just wondering about. I'm not sure, and maybe things have changed. One was they have to wear a seat belt. First off, I want to say I don't own an ATV. I don't own one and never plan on it. But you said they have to wear seat belts. I do have a 1300 Honda full dress motorcycle. I'm not wearing a seatbelt on my motorcycle.
The seat belt is for the side-by-sides that look like small
Okay,
pickups.
well,
That's
it's
the only
still
one.
dangerous anyway. But anyway, go ahead. If it's licensed, got all the
turn signals and everything on it. The last I heard, if it went over 35 miles an hour, I could drive a scooter out there on any road on the county. Go ahead.
No, that's not true. It's only legal if counties designate roadways for it to be legal. If it's street legal, if you can have a license plate on it. If the county hasn't passed an ordinance allowing it, you can't drive on the roadways, not legally.
So here you got a thing we have to pay for with license on it that'll do 50 miles an hour, and you can't run it on the road? Now, what's wrong with this picture? This doesn't make any sense. I don't know about all the ordinance and everything else, but if it doesn't have a license on it, I could understand it. But with license, I should be able to run anywhere I want. I should be able to run up and down Salmon Creek, drive it anywhere I want, because I can do 50 miles an hour. This is starting to not make a lot of sense to me on when we make ordinance, but yet we pass laws that we have to have license plates and turn signals and everything else on it. I don't think I need turn signals out there in the woods, driving or lights instead, lights at night.
Within the law, there is a designation that spells out that ATVs and the definition of ATVs and what are and what are not. I believe, and Mr. Carter can maybe correct me, but there is a definition of an ATV, and it doesn't comply with the motor vehicle laws. It's a different section of the law.
Every time I turn around, anybody that wants to do anything, they shut the land off, sell it to Weyerhaeuser and everything else, bottle us into one little spot, and then every time we try to do something, anybody tries to do anything, on anything, it seems like we've got rules, regulations, and laws, and whack codes, and bills, and everything to stop us. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Toby Belcher Sr. out at Salmon Creek and Coons Road. I know I didn't sign a petition, but I just want to go on record as I oppose this, and I love my bike. That don't make a lot of sense, but that's just the way it is. I do sympathize with all the bike riders my age and older. We'd like to have something to do this with, but not the way they're proposing it. If you go up and down that road, the first thing you ought to find is a place that you're going to park all these trailers that you're bringing these bikes in. Then you go up and down that road and look it over. You got 2 feet. That's the biggest part of our road's got 2 feet of clearance off the side of it. Well, that's enough, you say. And I heard the little lady say she gets off and picks up the garbage. And she better be awfully careful picking up garbage on that road. It's dangerous to walk that road. I know, I do it sometimes. Now, I'm telling you, that's not the place it should be. If it was me, I liked what you're saying of going out to the park and doing it there. But I don't know how that's going to solve you getting back up the hill. That's the only decent place you've got to park the vehicles. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else out there? Then I will close the hearing on this proposed ordinance and hear from the commissioners.
Mr. Chair, we've heard several concerns and some issues that were brought up, not for whether or not we should have an ordinance for driving ATVs on county road, but the current location in this proposed ordinance has issues, and I would recommend sending this back to staff and the ATV group to look at maybe a different location that would connect campgrounds to trails and not run it up and down a residential road. I think the location is the issue here. So I'd recommend kicking this back to the ATV group and the Public Works Director and pick a different spot.
I concur with that recommendation, with the caveat that we also make sure wherever we're thinking about doing it, that we consult with the people who are living in those areas, because we do a better job when we get everybody's opinion together. we did think about not having, we almost withdrew this from our agenda, but we wanted to hear from the people, and we did hear from the people today. This is democracy. You heard all sides, and I think we're better for it. I've got a better view of what's going on out there as a result of all your testimony, and I appreciate all of you traveling many miles to come here today. Thank you.
I've been chastised and classified as opposing ATVs and opposing anything that has to do with ATVs. I've been beaten severely about the head and shoulders for my stance on the issues. When this first came up, we recommended to the ATV clubs that they would provide us with a plan by which they could police themselves, a plan by which they would identify the roadways which were the best choices, that we could look at those plans and verify that these are the roads that we would like to have participate. We have not seen such a plan. We end up with a proposed ordinance that allows for 2 roads, which I have driven several times, which I have a problem with trying to justify those 2 roads as being the best roads in the county for a pilot project. I just have a real problem with that. These roads are not what I would describe as being acceptable for any of the purposes of the ATV groups. They just don't fit into that overall picture that I have in my mind of what you need to do. So I would go along with the motion, and I don't know if Counselor, do we need to make a motion on this to reject this, or what do we need to do exactly here?
I think what you would do is a motion to table it for purposes of further study, to come back with a new proposal.
I will entertain that motion.
I make a motion that we table this and review it and come up with a better location.
I'll second that.
Okay, question?
When I hear table this, because it's very specific. So it seems like you would want it to die and then start anew.
You can do that. You can say that you reject this proposal and that for staff to go back and study the problem, the issue again, and to come back with a new proposal.
So in that case, you would vote against the motion and propose a new motion. So we've heard the testimony, and we have a motion on the floor, and I will call for a vote on that motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion fails. And then would you like to make a motion?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion that we reject this proposal and we ask our staff to go back. Excuse us, we're not quite done.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're not quite done yet.
Not quite done yet.
Please sit down or exit quietly.
Yes.
Thank you.
And ask staff to go back and take a look at other roads within the county.
Second that.
Motion made and seconded to refer this back to staff, have examined other roads in the county that would be more suitable. I think that covers it. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Wait a minute.
Mr. Chair, with no further business, I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
What? Lee? Oh, time for Matt already?
It wasn't until your buddy. Lee? Until your buddy.
On the county. Go ahead.
No, that's not true. It's only legal if counties designate roadways for it to be legal. If it's street legal, if you can have a license plate on it. If the county hasn't passed an ordinance allowing it, you can't drive on the roadways, not legally.
So here you got a thing we have to pay for with license on it that'll do 50 miles an hour, and you can't run it on the road? Now, what's wrong with this picture? This doesn't make any sense. I don't know about all the ordinance and everything else, but if it doesn't have license on it, I could understand it. But with license, I should be able to run anywhere I want. I should be able to run up and down Salmon Creek, drive it anywhere I want, because I can do 50 miles an hour. This is starting to not make a lot of sense to me on when we make ordinance, but yet we pass laws that we have to have license plates and turn signals and everything else on it. I don't think I need turn signals out there in the woods, driving or lights instead, lights at night.
Within the law, there is a designation that spells out that ATVs and the definition of ATVs and what are and what are not. I believe, and Mr. Carter can maybe correct me, but there is a definition of an ATV, and it doesn't comply with the motor vehicle laws. It's a different section of the law.
Every time I turn around, anybody that wants to do anything, they shut the land off, sell it to Weyerhaeuser and everything else, bottle us into one little spot, and then every time we try to do something, anybody tries to do anything, on anything, it seems like we've got rules, regulations, and laws, and whack codes, and bills, and everything to stop us. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Toby Belcher Sr. out at Salmon Creek and Coons Road. I know I didn't sign a petition, but I just want to go on record as I oppose this, and I love my bike. That don't make a lot of sense, but that's just the way it is. I do sympathize with all the bike riders my age and older. We'd like to have something to do this with, but not the way they're proposing it. If you go up and down that road, the first thing you ought to find is a place that you're going to park all these trailers that you're bringing these bikes in. Then you go up and down that road and look it over. You got 2 feet. That's the biggest part of our road's got 2 feet of clearance off the side of it. Well, that's enough, you say. And I heard the little lady say she gets off and picks up the garbage. And she better be awfully careful picking up garbage on that road. It's dangerous to walk that road. I know, I do it sometimes. Now, I'm telling you, that's not the place it should be. If it was me, I liked what you're saying of going out to the park and doing it there, but I don't know how that's going to solve you getting back up the hill. That's the only decent place you've got to park the vehicles. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else out there? Then I will close the hearing on this proposed ordinance and hear from the commissioners.
Mr. Chair, we've heard several concerns and some issues that were brought up, not for whether or not we should have an ordinance for driving ATVs on county road, but the current location in this proposed ordinance has issues, and I would recommend sending this back to staff and the ATV group to look at maybe a different location that would connect campgrounds to trails and not run it up and down a residential road. I think the location is the issue here. So I'd recommend kicking this back to the ATV group and the Public Works Director and pick a different spot.
I concur with that recommendation, with the caveat that we also make sure wherever we're thinking about doing it, that we consult with the people who are living in those areas, because we do a better job when we get everybody's opinion together. We did think about not having, we almost withdrew this from our agenda, but we wanted to hear from the people, and we did hear from the people today. This is democracy. You heard all sides, and I think we're better for it. I've got a better view of what's going on out there as a result of all your testimony, and I appreciate all of you traveling many miles to come here today. Thank you.
I've been chastised and classified as opposing ATVs and opposing anything that has to do with ATVs. I've been beaten severely about the head and shoulders for my stance on the issues. When this first came up, we recommended to the ATV clubs that they would provide us with a plan by which they could police themselves, a plan by which they would identify the roadways which were the best choices, that we could look at those plans and verify that these are the roads that we would like to have participate. We have not seen such a plan. We end up with a proposed ordinance that allows for 2 roads, which I have driven several times, which I have a problem with trying to justify those 2 roads as being the best roads in the county for a pilot project. I just have a real problem with that. These roads are not what I would describe as being acceptable for any of the purposes of the ATV groups. They just don't fit into that overall picture that I have in my mind of what you need to do. So I would go along with the motion, and I don't know if Counselor, do we need to make a motion on this to reject this, or what do we need to do exactly here?
I think what you would do is a motion to table it for purposes of further study, to come back with a new proposal.
I will entertain that motion.
I make a motion that we table this and review it and come up with a better location.
I'll second that.
Okay, question?
When I hear table this, because it's very specific. So it seems like you would want it to die and then start anew.
You can do that. You can say that you reject this proposal and that for staff to go back and study the problem, the issue again, and to come back with a new proposal.
So in that case, you would vote against the motion and propose a new motion. So we've heard the testimony, and we have a motion on the floor, and I will call for a vote on that motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion fails. And then would you like to make a motion?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion that we reject this proposal and we ask our staff to go back. Excuse us, we're not quite done.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're not quite done yet.
Not quite done yet.
Please sit down or exit quietly.
Yes.
Thank you.
And ask staff to go back and take a look at other roads within the county.
Second that.
Motion made and seconded to refer this back to staff, have examined other roads in the county that would be more suitable. I think that covers it. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Wait a minute.
Mr. Chair, with no further business, I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
What? Lee? Oh, time for Matt already?
It wasn't until your buddy. Lee? Until your buddy. Rudy?
Go ahead.
No, that's not true. It's only legal if counties designate roadways for it to be legal. If it's street legal, if you can have a license plate on it. If the county hasn't passed an ordinance allowing it, you can't drive on the roadways, not legally.
So here you got a thing we have to pay for with license on it that'll do 50 miles an hour, and you can't run it on the road? Now, what's wrong with this picture? This doesn't make any sense. I don't know about all the ordinance and everything else, but if it doesn't have a license on it, I could understand it. But with license, I should be able to run anywhere I want. I should be able to run up and down Salmon Creek, drive it anywhere I want, because I can do 50 miles an hour. This is starting to not make a lot of sense to me on when we make ordinance, but yet we pass laws that we have to have license plates and turn signals and everything else on it. I don't think I need turn signals out there in the woods, driving or lights, lights at night.
Within the law, there is a designation that spells out that ATVs and the definition of ATVs and what are and what are not. I believe, and Mr. Carter can maybe correct me, but there is a definition of an ATV, and it doesn't comply with the motor vehicle laws. It's a different section of the law.
Every time I turn around, anybody that wants to do anything, they shut the land off, sell it to Weyerhaeuser and everything else, bottle us into one little spot, and then every time we try to do something, anybody tries to do anything, on anything, it seems like we've got rules, regulations, and laws, and whack codes, and bills, and everything to stop us. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Toby Belcher Sr. out at Salmon Creek and Coons Road. I know I didn't sign a petition, but I just want to go on record as I oppose this, and I love my bike. That don't make a lot of sense, but that's just the way it is. I do sympathize with all the bike riders my age and older. We'd like to have something to do this with, but not the way they're proposing it. If you go up and down that road, the first thing you ought to find is a place that you're going to park all these trailers that you're bringing these bikes in. Then you go up and down that road and look it over. You got 2 feet. That's the biggest part of our road's got 2 feet of clearance off the side of it. No, well, that's enough, you say. And I heard the little lady say she gets off and picks up the garbage. And she better be awfully careful picking up garbage on that road. It's dangerous to walk that road. I know, I do it sometimes. Now, I'm telling you, that's not the place it should be. If it was me, I liked what you're saying of going out to the park and doing it there, but I don't know how that's going to solve you getting back up the hill. That's the only decent place you got to park the vehicles. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else out there? Then I will close the hearing on this proposed ordinance and hear from the commissioners.
Mr. Chair, we've heard several concerns and some issues that were brought up, not for whether or not we should have an ordinance for driving ATVs on county road, but the current location in this proposed ordinance has issues, and I would recommend sending this back to staff and the ATV group to look at maybe a different location that would connect campgrounds to trails and not run it up and down a residential road. I think the location is the issue here. So I'd recommend kicking this back to the ATV group and the Public Works Director and pick a different spot.
I concur with that recommendation, with the caveat that we also make sure wherever we're thinking about doing it, that we consult with the people who are living in those areas, because we do a better job when we get everybody's opinion together. We did think about not having, we almost withdrew this from our agenda, but we wanted to hear from the people, and we did hear from the people today. This is democracy. You heard all sides, and I think we're better for it. I've got a better view of what's going on out there as a result of all your testimony, and I appreciate all of you traveling many miles to come here today. Thank you.
I've been chastised and classified as opposing ATVs and opposing anything that has to do with ATVs. I've been beaten severely about the head and shoulders for my stance on the issues. When this first came up, we recommended to the ATV clubs that they would provide us with a plan by which they could police themselves, a plan by which they would identify the roadways which were the best choices, that we could look at those plans and verify that these are the roads that we would like to have participate. We have not seen such a plan. We end up with a proposed ordinance that allows for 2 roads, which I have driven several times, which I have a problem with trying to justify those 2 roads as being the best roads in the county for a pilot project. I just have a real problem with that. These roads are not what I would describe as being acceptable for any of the purposes of the ATV groups. They just don't fit into that overall picture that I have in my mind of what you need to do. So I would go along with the motion, and I don't know if Counselor, do we need to make a motion on this to reject this, or what do we need to do exactly here?
I think what you would do is a motion to table it for purposes of further study, to come back with a new proposal.
I will entertain that motion.
I make a motion that we table this and review it and come up with a better location.
I'll second that.
Okay, question?
When I hear table this, because it's very specific. So it seems like you would want it to die and then start anew.
You can do that. You can say that you reject this proposal and that for staff to go back and study the problem, the issue again, and to come back with a new proposal.
So in that case, you would vote against the motion and propose a new motion. So we've heard the testimony, and we have a motion on the floor, and I will call for a vote on that motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion fails. And then would you like to make a motion?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion that we reject this proposal and we ask our staff to go back. Excuse us, we're not quite done.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're not quite done yet.
Not quite done yet.
Please sit down or exit quietly.
Yes.
Thank you.
And ask staff to go back and take a look at other roads within the county.
Second that.
Motion made and seconded to refer this back to staff, have examined other roads in the county that would be more suitable. I think that covers it. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Wait a minute.
Mr. Chair, with no further business, I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. We are adjourned.